Hi guys, welcome to another video review. So today we're gonna review a pretty advanced bowler by the name of Basil. He's a local bowler as well from Singapore. So I assume he's a young adult. He mentioned that he's actually going through NS after his study. So I assume he like went through tertiary studies like probably poly or maybe even uni, and then is now going into NS. So he says doesn't have much time to bowl, but used to be training with the one of the academies. So yes, decently, I mean, very good fundamentals is all I can say. Because if we were to go by the SPF grading system, I would easily grade him as an advanced or elite level, or maybe even a national bowler level, based on his physical game. Okay, so we will just watch the videos first. So earlier I had it playing. So this is one of his videos. You can see him throwing a shot here. Okay, so he sent over, sent over three videos. Let's see wait, is this the same one? Nope, nope. Second video. hmm So it has a five-step approach. Very smooth, very fluid. I like how his arm moves. And there's the third video with a little bit of a side view. Okay, yeah. Unfortunate pin 10 there. Yep, so this was the first one. Okay. So all in all, when we look at Basil, right, for those who have experience in bowling, like been bowling for a few years, or if you yourself are a bowling coach, you probably will see that Basil probably has really solid fundamental game, right? So like what how come when we're a coach, when we see his game, like how come we know that he's a good bowler? So these are some general signs that he's a good bowler. If I have time to actually edit this, I'll probably put some of the like the words titles on screen so that it's easier for you guys to see. So first, that he has good balance. So what I mean by good balance is starting from, maybe this is not the best, starting from here where you can see his stance. Okay, so it's relatively straight stance, takes a five-step approach. So all through his approach, so when he moves through the five-step, I call that his bowling approach. All through his bowling approach until delivering his shot, and after he delivers his shot, you can see that he has excellent balance. So he stays on balance like halfway of where his ball went goes halfway down the lane. So it's good balance. Next, we look back at it. He has what we call a loose or relaxed swing. So if you pay attention to his swing, one-handed swing, right, pretty fluid, loose and relaxed. I'll play it again. Yep, pretty fluid, loose and relaxed swing, right? You don't see like much muscle, you don't see much tension in his arm swing. So that's a second sign that he's a good bowler. Next, we talk about his quick release and high follow through. Those are signs of a high ref bowler. So we'll look at his release again. Right, he has this flick of his wrist, right? So we just look at the release. So loose swing and the flick of the wrist. And he has a high follow through to the ball. This is another shot. So he has the same flick in the other video. So flick and notices that his hand follows through above his head. And then we will look at a third video. So he has the flick as well, and his hand follows through above his head right here, right? So the hand follows through above the head. So maybe I'll use my Epic pen so that easier to showcase stuff, to highlight stuff, so to say. Maybe let's do a bit of a thicker one. Maybe use a yellow one, right? So you can see that his hand finishes above his head here. Okay, so signs that he's no, his quick release and high follow through is a good sign that he probably has decently like medium to high ref rate. High ref rate for like a one-hander, right? So just judging by his release, I cannot see the amount of revolution of his ball because it's a pure black ball. In his other shots also he's using this pure black ball, but he's probably, I would estimate his ref rate based on his release, our estimate his ref rate to be in the like 250 to probably like high 300 range, right? So anywhere from 250 to about, let's say, 400 revs per minute, right? RPM, which is pretty decently high ref rate. So that's just by a guess, right? Based on how his hand moves. Next, we're gonna look at his ball speed. So obviously we can't measure his ball speed. I have the ball speed indicated on the top right-hand corner of the screen because I've actually used a timer to calculate how much time he spends, his ball spends from the foul line to the point that it hits the pins. And then if we take 60 feet on the lanes and divide by the time taken, so we will get his rough ball speed. So his ball speed is around 24. I mean, it fluctuates like sometimes 24 plus, sometimes slightly lower than 24, but it's around 24 kilometers per hour. So it's a pretty decent ball speed. For most professionals, you're looking at around 26, 27 kilometers per hour. Some of them will throw a ball even a bit faster at 30 kilometers per hour. But generally 24 is just slightly a tinge below the professional ball speed, and it's pretty good. So, why high ball speed is sign that you're a good bowler? Because obviously, if you have high ball speed, your ball travels faster down the lane. It has more kinetic energy. When it hits the pins are going to fly harder, right? So it doesn't give you a higher chance of a strike. So higher ball speed equals more strikes most of the time. Okay. So another one, we took at his approach. So if you look at his approach, generally, signs of good bowler is that he has a very fluid and smooth approach. And I think his approach is one of the not the most, but one of the more fluid players that I've ever seen bowl, right? Like you look at it, he just like flows through his approach. There doesn't seem to be much hitch, there doesn't seem to be much tension. There's just this little bit of extra motion when he swings down and has that little flick of the wrist. Other than that, his approach looks really fluid. Then minimal drift left and right. Okay, so then the last point is his drift. So I think, yeah, most of these are good. So let's look at where he starts, right? Okay, this is not the best. Here, can we see where he starts? So here, let's pay attention to where he starts. He's starting around this, right? One board beneath, in front of that. Sorry, let me try and draw from the edge of his toes around here, right? So this is 20, this is 25. So his left shoe is standing at board 26. So let's play the video. Let's see where it ends up. Okay. So where he ends up, his left shoe is ending up here, right? So if we trace this straight down, is at, okay, so this is kind of bad. Okay, let's trace it. So this is at 20, I believe this is 25. So this looks like a few boards within 25. It looks like this is 25 if I'm not wrong. 26, 27, 28. So he's should be around 29. So he starts at 26. He has about 3 boards drift towards the left, ends at 29. So it's quite minimal, right? So he doesn't have a lot of drift. The 3 boards drift is still pretty acceptable. So where he starts is roughly where he ends up. So it's very minimal drift. So minimal drift, very little drift from left or right to left or right is also a sign of a pretty good bowler. So these are all the physical signs that will tell a bowling coach or tell other experienced bowlers that you see this, that he's a bowler with a good physical game. And these are the things that, as a bowler, if you want to strive for a very good physical game, these are the things that you should strive for. Okay. So other than that, let's see what other things will dictate. Okay, so I want to talk about like the 3 main factors of bowling, right? So 3 main factors of bowling, we would like to boil it down to direction, ref rate, and ball speed. So there's like, if you have good direction, like if you can send your ball consistently to a target, let's say your breakpoint is here, you can consistently hit a target, you have good direction, generally you'll be a good strike shooter and a good spare shooter. The most importantly is for your spares, right? So direction is really important. Ref rate is always important as well because it is related to power. The higher the ref rate, the harder your ball drives into the pins. So ref rate equates to power. Then the third thing that equates to power is ball speed as well. So obviously the faster a ball travels, the more kinetic energy it has, as I mentioned earlier, hits the pins harder, more strikes. Also, higher ball speed generally would help you with lane transition, that you no need to shift as much on the lane when the line dries up. You can use ball speed to overcome certain dry oil conditions. So three basic factors of good bowling. If you have direction, ref rate, and ball speed, yeah, it's a sign of a good bowler. So let's see whether he has direction, right? Okay, let's see. So let's see where he hits at the arrows and where he ends up. Okay, so this one crosses the arrows. Let's zoom in. Okay, zoom in, maybe backtrack a bit. Crosses the arrows at about 16, right? So this is about 16 at the arrows here. Okay, kind of right here, this is 16 at the arrows. Then let's see what he ends up at the breakpoint. Ooh, goes to about, this is like 5, 6, 7. So it's about 7 at the breakpoint. So 16 at the arrow, 7 at the breakpoint. So obviously these three videos he could be playing in different lines, but let's see if he can consistently, send the ball in the same direction. So this is video 3. Okay, so this one. Okay, this is the other one. Okay, maybe I want to zoom in a little bit. Let's see where his ball ends up at the arrows. Ooh, it's pretty low resolution when I zoom in, so it's pretty hard to see. But, oof, wow, rough. Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to see. All I can see is that this is 5. Maybe I want to use a different color, blue. Like this is, I believe, 5. Uh, it's about, I think this is about 10. So this should be my guess is this is about 13. 13 at the arrows. Okay. Then can we see his breakpoint? Yes, we can roughly estimate his breakpoint. So his ball lands about, so 13 at the arrows, his ball lands about, the camera moved, I think about 6 to 7 at the breakpoint. So it's about 7 at the breakpoint. So it's pretty consistent from the two videos. 13 at the arrow, 7 at the breakpoint. Then we look at his third video. Okay, this definitely I'll need to zoom in. Okay, this is a little bit better in terms of resolution. Okay, this one, he obviously hits beyond the third arrow. So this is, I believe, because this is the center arrow, this should be like 17. 17 at the arrows. And let's see which breakpoint he ends up at. So he's playing a little bit deeper here. I believe this should be 10, 11, 12. About 12 at the breakpoint. So about 17, 12. So the other two videos, he was playing like between the first and second arrow, sending his ball out to about board 5, board 6, board 7 at the breakpoint. But this third one, he's playing a little bit deeper in. So 17 at arrows, about 12 at the breakpoint. So obviously, it's I mean, he could be playing different lines. This could be a pull shot as well. But generally speaking, I can see that he's able to send his ball like diagonally out towards the right in all three shots. And the line looks pretty consistent. Obviously, with this third shot, he could have like intentionally changed a line. So it could be, the friend could be taking the video after he has made a move deeper inside. So we can't say for sure. But I would say that generally his direction should be pretty good. So if his ref rate is about 250 to about 400 RPM, there is also a sign that he probably has pretty decent carry. And then the third one is that his ball speed, right? So his ball speed, I already mentioned, is pretty decent as well. So it's about 24 kilometer per hour. So pretty decent ball speed. It's just a smidge below the what the pros are throwing. So he has pretty good direction, pretty good ref rate, pretty good ball speed. And that's also a sign that pretty good bowler as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, other things that Basil, when he sent this video, he actually asked me about my opinion of it is his timing and his figure at backswing. So he probably knows that he has pretty decent fundamental game, but he's a little bit worried about certain like bad habits. So his timing wise, let's look at his timing here. I don't think this is his complete timing. Let me reverse this. Yep, so this one he starts from start of the stance. Does he take a 4-step or 5-step? Can't see his feet. How about this video? Okay, so he starts from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 steps. So he starts his ball placement at the beginning of the second step, which is okay, pretty normal for a one-handed bowler. So generally, like if a bowler has a good enough physical game at this level, generally I wouldn't really gripe about timing too much, because what we want to see is generally a delayed ball release timing. So a delayed ball release timing is around here. So the point where his feet stop sliding. So I think his feet is still moving around here, right? So his feet stop sliding around here. Okay, so if he stops sliding around here, you can see that his ball is still slightly behind his sliding foot. So as long as your ball is slightly behind your sliding foot at the point where your sliding feet stops right before the foul line, then you have delayed ball release timing. So as long as you have delayed ball release timing, it's generally easier for that bowler to do a little bit more at the foul line, give the ball a little bit more ref rate. So as long as he has delayed ball release timing, it's fine, right? It doesn't matter how he starts. It's more important how he ends. Because if we were to adjust the ball placement timing of a bowler, is usually a very tough adjustment to do, and it will make the bowler struggle quite a fair bit of time before they can learn this new timing. So if by making them struggle it doesn't benefit their game, then obviously we don't change it for nothing, right? Because we want to maintain the consistency of the bowler as much as we can. So timing is not an issue. His figure eight backswing, let's take a look at it. So his backswing is around here. So you notice he has a little bit of a figure eight backswing, whereby when he swings up, so he swings his ball up on the inside of his body, right? So you can see here, if I were to like use the pen and draw it, so he swings up on the inside here, and then if we continue playing it, swings up on the inside, and then when he swings it down, it is going here, right? It is going from here to here, right? So a little bit, so the back swing plane and the back swing, like when the ball swings towards his back, and the forward swing where the ball swings forward into release, or swinging in different planes. You can see there's a difference between the blue line and the red line. So generally we call this like a figure eight backswing, where your backswing and your forward swing is like in a different plane. There's a little bit of switch in swing planes. So this used to be more popular in the older days, because a lot of coaches feel like this is kind of release that will give the bowler power. I don't fully understand it. I don't fully understand the rationale behind it, so not going to comment too much. So he still has this figure eight backswing. Could be a sign that he was taught maybe quite a few years ago, maybe even like a decade ago, as a bowler. So that's why he was learning this older system, older backswing. Because nowadays modern bowlers, we try to keep the backswing and the forward swing playing the same for improved consistency. Okay, obviously it's not great for consistency, but generally before we try to change the swing of a bowler, what we want to measure is their consistency and accuracy in hitting a target. So what do I mean by that is, if I can we get okay, so what we mean is this: if the bowler can actually hit the point at the arrows, which is around here, and their point at the break point, which is 3/4 down the lane, consistently, like 70% of the time. So let's say if I put a tape here and I put a tape here, and I ask this bowler Basil to try and hit these two targets, right, as best as he can. So if Basil can hit his target, the tape at the arrow and the tape at the break point, both times he hit both targets 7 out of 10 times. That means he hit the first one, he has to hit the second one. So out of 10 tries, he can hit 7 of them. I will consider him already a pretty good and accurate bowler. Then we also talk about his miss room. So if let's say Basil does miss, right? Maybe he misses the tape in front, but he hits the tape behind, or he hits the tape in front but misses the tape behind, or he misses both tapes. Then we also see how much that he misses by. If he misses both tapes just by one board, then generally it's still okay. He's still a pretty consistent bowler. If he misses both tapes by like anywhere from like 3 to 5 boards, right? Like 3 to 5 boards at the arrows and then 3 to 5 boards at the break point, then there's obviously a sign that he's very inconsistent. Then we will have to work on it. But if his misses are very small, like he just misses by 1 board or maybe 1.5 to 2 boards, generally it's still okay. It's still a sign of a consistent bowler. And if you can hit like both tips 7 or even 6 out of 10 times exactly, then it's also a sign that he's a pretty good bowler. So if he can be that accurate in hitting his targets, then I wouldn't change this bowler's swing at all, right? Because like I mentioned, as a coach, we don't want to mess with something that is working, because we don't want to like do some unwanted physical changes, not say unwanted, like do some physical changes that causes a high level bowler to lose consistency and accuracy. Because I mean, if the bowler is not yet at the highest level, their physical game is not that good yet, then there's still a lot of room for improvement. Then we don't mind making big changes because the sacrifice is not as much. Because they're not sacrificing a lot of their scoring, consistency, and accuracy. And ultimately, they're not sacrificing a lot of their scoring potential in order to make the change. But if they are already not scoring very well, so maybe this bowler is only averaging like 150, then he's already like very inconsistent. He's missing like 3 to 5 boards at the arrows and the break point. Then making a change doesn't matter that much because there's not much risk, right? How bad how much worse can he get? So the bowler can only get better. So if the bowler is really consistent, then we won't make any changes to his figure eight swing. Obviously, if he's still missing his target by a lot, let's say he's only hitting both of his targets at the arrow and the break point, like maybe 40% of the time, then as a coach, we will probably look into his backswing, see whether we can simplify it, make him swing the same plane forward and back, and see by doing that change whether we improve his consistency and accuracy. Okay, what can I talk about next? Okay. So let's say if you're a bowler like Basil, right? Or if Basil is listening to this, what else can he work on to improve? Because like I mentioned, since as a coach, I don't really want to touch his physical game since I feel like his physical game is really pretty good. So Basil mentioned that when he was sending this video, he actually just recently competed in the Singapore Open 2023, but not the open division, but the graded A division. So for those who are no overseas viewers, if you're not aware of how the Singapore Open works, is that there's an open category for the professionals and the national bowlers. That means open category means you are not capped by your average, or you can be like a 300 average bowler and can play the open division, and you can be a average 100 bowler and can still play in the open division. It's open to all, right? Whereas the graded A and graded B, they are capped by an average. That means to both graded A, I believe you must be like probably average 200 or 190 or below for your leagues and all the national level tournaments. If you're a graded B bowler, I believe it's either 185 or 175 and below for your registered average. So he played in graded A, and he played 6 games. His average was around 196 to 198 if I remember correctly. So very close to a 200 average. So, and take note that Singapore Open is actually on a sports oiling. It's a pretty competitive oiling, not that easy at all. So to average 200 on a very competitive oiling is actually a pretty good sign that he's a pretty good bowler. So his physical game has obviously carried him to that score. So what else can he improve would be his mental game. So mental game is like when we talk about mental game is mm, okay, how should I explain this? Okay, so I'll have to explain the concept of emotional arousal. So obviously the word arousal sounds very, not good, right? Has some sensual connotations, but basically emotional arousal is what we describe as the emotional state of mind when a bowler or probably an athlete is doing something. So for example, let's say if you're playing in Singapore Open, here imagine if he's playing in the Singapore Open, right? So what is the bowler's state of mind? Is he like very hyped up because he drank a lot of coffee, or is he like very low in energy levels because he didn't sleep enough the previous night, right? Maybe he only got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep the previous night. Then his emotional arousal at a very low level, or is it at a very high level because of like overhyped, or is his emotional arousal level very high because he bought a 300 game or 279 game, then he's like super hyped, or is his emotional arousal level very low because he's very disappointed by bowling like a 130 or 140 game the previous game. Then, so that is what we mean by emotional arousal. So they are emotional and mental state. Okay, so the bowler needs to be aware of their emotional state, so they need to be able to read their own emotional state at any time. And at the same time, they also need to know techniques of how to alter their emotional state. For example, most bowlers, most athletes, right, generally would know, whereby one, like they will know what is their they should know what is their ideal emotional state by doing record keeping. For example, like every practice session or maybe every tournament, they should be recording their emotional state. Like today, out of like 0 to 10, where 10 is my no my highest energy state and 0 is my super lowest energy state, right? Like 0 is when I'm like asleep. Then what is my emotional state today? So they should make a record, and based on their records, right, they should tally their records with their performance. So for example, for bowling, it's a sport whereby you don't need a lot of hyped up emotional state, unlike sprinting or like boxing, where you need to be pretty hyped up to perform well. So bowling is not as dull as chess as well. Like if you're playing like a professional chess tournament, you need to be pretty calm. So like let's say to play well in chess, you need an emotional state of 3. Then to bowl well, you probably will need an emotional state of like 5 to maybe 6, right? 5 to 6 is like the peak emotional state to bowl. So the bowler needs to be aware of what is their peak emotional state, like what is their 5 out of 10, or what is their 6 out of 10 emotional arousal state. Then since they know that is their peak performance state, how are they going to adjust themselves? Like, can they read themselves when they are overhyped up? Like, do they know when they are like 10 out of 10? So now I'm like, oh, 9 out of 10. I'm actually too excited to actually perform well for the next game. So what are the techniques that I can calm down? Can I do breathing techniques? Can I do mental techniques to calm myself down? And then if I'm too low of energy, so maybe I don't have enough sleep, right? I only slept like 3 to 4 hours last night, and I'm really feeling very tired. Or maybe I had an argument with my parents, for example, and that puts me in a really bad mood. So I'm an emotional state of like 2 or 3 right now. But I need to perform in this tournament. How do I bring it to my 5 or 6? How do I psych myself up? How do I console myself? Get myself to feel better. Do I need to like eat some sweets? Do I need to like go through some mental hoops? Do I have to practice some breathing techniques or meditation techniques to bring myself back to that ideal emotional state, to bowl my best? So that is an example of mental game. So I went on quite a bit of a rant. So I'll try and summarize a bit. Then next thing he can improve, bowlers like Basil can improve on, is their tactical game. So tactical game is other than the emotional state, they will go tactical is basically like when I'm bowling Singapore Open, what is the oiling pattern? So what is my favorite line? So let's say Basil's favorite line is like so this is probably not his favorite line. So this is maybe his favorite line, right? So this is about 15-5. 15-7, for example. So let's say his favorite line is 15 at the arrows. So I'll put like 15 here, right? And then probably maybe 8 at the breakpoint, 15-8. Right, 15 at the arrows, 8 at the breakpoint. So this is his favorite line, and he's most confident. He feels this is peak comfort zone. Like he bowls the best whenever he's allowed to play this line. Then he has to know that by reading at the oil pattern, is there a way that he can play this favorite line at the Singapore Open or whatever competitive oiling that he's playing at? So if he then what kind of surface and handballs can he use to play that line? So we'll talk about that in the equipment knowledge. So tactical knowledge is like, is he able to play this line at that oil pattern? Because there are certain oil patterns that will not allow you to play this line. For example, if this is the cheetah or like the wolf oil pattern, right, where it's like 32 feet or 35 feet, it's really short, then there's no way that with a reactive ball you could play deep inside, right? If you are playing like a really short pattern like 32, 35 feet or even lower than that, then your arrow zone is probably about 5, and then your breakpoint is also probably about 5. So you're playing like 5, 5. Or you're playing lines like you can only play lines like maybe 7 at the arrows and then 5 at the breakpoint, right? 7 at the arrow, 5 at the breakpoint. So if he's like playing a really short pattern, there's no way he can play his favorite line. So he needs to know, like, for that oil pattern, what is the ideal line to play, what are the expected lines that people will play at to score, and whether for that particular oil pattern can he play his favorite line. So if he can play his favorite line, let's say his favorite line is like 15 10, right? 15 8, sorry, 15 and 8, right? 15 at the arrows, 8 at the breakpoint. What happens when that line dries up, right? Should he move in or should he move to the right? So is he using a urethane ball to play his favorite line? Because if he's using urethane ball, there's probably like carry down, the oil will be pushed down. So can he move in with a reactive ball, or should he move further to the right with his pure urethane ball? So these are tactical decisions that he has to know, he has to make, he has to be familiar with. So like mental state and tactical state is it already as yeah, okay. So before that, let me talk about equipment as well. So the third thing that you can improve on is his equipment knowledge, right? So his equipment knowledge is like his knowledge of balls as well as surface. So let's say Singapore Open is like maybe a 42 or 45 feet pattern, right? I've actually forgot because I didn't pay attention to the recent Singapore Open oiling. So let's say it's a 45 feet pattern. So he's probably able to play 15-8 is possible, but what kind of balls must he use in order to play 15-8? Does he need to use a reactive asymmetrical ball or a reactive symmetrical ball? What is the strength of the bowling ball to use, right? For example, like should he be using like a roto grip gem to play that line, which is a very strong asymmetrical ball, or should he be using like a Storm Phase 2, which is a relatively strong but symmetrical ball, but weaker than the roto grip gem? So he needs to know his ball choice in order to play that line. Like if he uses that ball for that particular oil pattern and playing that particular line, will it probably get to the pocket? Then also the surface, like how much surface does he need to put on that particular ball for that volume of oil pattern, for that length of oil pattern? Does he need to put 500 grit, 1000 grit, like 2000 grit? Does he need to like use a pearl ball? Does he need to use a pure urethane ball? Right? And if he's using a pure urethane ball, should his surface be like 500 or like 360? Should his surface it to 1000? So he needs to know this. This is equipment knowledge, right? So these are things that you can improve on. So mental, tactical, and equipment knowledge already determines a big part of the scoring ability of the bowler, because if you are um good mentally and you're good tactically and you're good equipment wise, then the amount of adjustments you need to change to do in order to find another strike is a lot less than a bowler who's not good at these 3 points. So maybe I would like to illustrate example. So let's say I'm a bowler who has pretty bad mental game, bad tactical game, and bad equipment knowledge, right? So I lose my pocket. So let's say I'm playing 15-8, right? And all of a sudden my pocket is gone because the line dries up, right? So like, for example, now my ball like goes here, I hit my line, but my ball overhooks. So then I need to transition. So if I have bad knowledge, I just feel like, okay, so maybe I'll just shift left, right? Then I notice I shift left with my ball doesn't hook. I'm like, okay, so my ball doesn't hook. But is it because I made a bad shot? So I'm not sure of my mental game and I'm not sure of my tactical game, right? So it's like, maybe I should stay here and try another 2 or 3 shots to see whether the ball will still get to the pocket. Because maybe I made a bad shot on the first one. Then I try the next 2 to 3 shots and the same thing happens, right? So it doesn't hook to the pocket. So take note, I've already done 4 shots and I still couldn't get to the pocket. Then I'll be like, okay, so I think I'm bowling well, so it must be my equipment. Then I change to a stronger ball. Then I change to like a much stronger ball, and now what happens is that the stronger ball now goes and it dives into the head pin, and then it goes into a split. So take note that I've already made like 4 shots with the older ball, and then I change to another equipment with a stronger ball, and I still don't get the pocket, right? I go high pocket. So note that I've already wasted like 5 shots, like 5 frames trying to find the pocket, but I couldn't find it. But if the bowler is not very good mentally, tactically, and equipment wise, then maybe he only needs to use 2 frames to find his pocket. So maybe he knows that because he knows his bowling really well, he knows that, okay, once I overhook, I already planned that I need to move left three left with my feet, and then one at the arrows. I'm gonna ball up to a slightly stronger ball, with maybe slightly more surface, and hopefully it will hit the pocket. And then I throw the second shot. Then if I miss my pocket just by a bit, so maybe I go a bit light pocket, then okay, I'll just shift half a board more to the right. Then I shift half a board more to the right, and then now it goes flush pocket. Right. So the bowler that's good with his mental game, tactical game, and equipment knowledge can make adjustments a lot faster and can find the pocket a lot faster when he is transitioning. So the earlier example of the bowler that's not so good, I spent about 6 frames, I still couldn't get the pocket. But the bowler is really good, only needs to spend 2 frames to adjust, and they can really find the pocket and they can continue to hit. Just continue to focus on repeating their shots and keep striking, right? Keep hitting the pocket and keep striking. Then compared to the other bowler, like 6 frames, maybe still can't find the pocket. 7 frames, still can't find the pocket. 8 frames, still cannot find the pocket. Then finally on the 9th frame, I could find the pocket, but I couldn't strike. I can leave a ringing 10. And then by that time, it's really a really bad game, right? It's potentially like maybe a 130, a 140 game. And the other bowler who is very good at both the mental, tactical, and equipment knowledge has no continued striking, and he bowled a 220 game. So a 220 game versus a 140 game is an 80 pin difference, right? So that good bowler already has an 80 pins lead ahead of the so-called the not so good bowler. And this is assuming that both bowlers have the same level of physical game, that both are able to execute their shots, hit their shots accurately and precise and consistently, but just that the lack of a mental game, tactical game, and equipment knowledge of the not that good a bowler is holding him or her back. So that is why that is very important. Then the last one is like a bowler like Basil can improve on is probably just his physical fitness. So physical fitness is not like muscle. Like we don't want to like build too much muscle, because building too much muscle will actually impede his swing. Because if you look at Basil here, is not like very strongly built. He's actually quite lean and quite slim, but his bowling form is really smooth, right? So if you were to build too much muscle in his like shoulders and in his forearm, in his biceps, triceps, and so on, he will start to muscle his downswing, muscle his bowling ball. So probably you need to have good knowledge of what you want to build on. So generally things like physical fitness, the bowler will want to build their thigh strength. So they want to build strength in their lower half of their body as well as their core. So they want to build strength in the lower half of their body here. And then they want to build their core strength. That means their abdominal strength, the front abs, side abs, and their back strength as well. Their backs as well. So they'll build their core strength and their lower body strength. So these are parts that are more important for bowling compared to their upper body strength, because if you build too much of your upper body, you start to muscle your swing and you start to be inconsistent in your delivery. Your bowling form is not as fluid. So they want to build that, and probably cardiovascular fitness. That means jog, cycle, trying to build general good aerobic fitness, so that they could last for longer periods of time, to could stay their so-called their emotional arousal can stay at a higher state, because if they have more energy, if they have better fitness, they don't get tired as easily. So their emotional arousal is not so easy to drop in their levels of emotional and mental state, because since they don't get tired as easy as maybe like a bowler who is not as aerobically fit, then they don't feel tired as soon as fast, then they could last longer in like a long series, like a master qualifier or like a big tournament like a US Open, where they're bowling like a lot of games at one go, right? So they don't feel tired as early, and then they can have a better emotional state for a longer period of time. Okay, so that's about it. So I've already ranted on for quite a while, so this has already become like a 40-minute video, right? So I never planned for this video to be as long as it is. I actually prepared like general pointers and I prepared a script, but it has just made the video way longer than what I've planned. So thank you very much for watching. So if you like to get any coaching lessons from me, you can find my WhatsApp number. You can WhatsApp me directly, because I don't respond that well to my email. I don't check the email often. So you can directly WhatsApp me, or you can just text message me if you're overseas at the number that is my video description. Otherwise, if you're looking for video reviews, you can always contact me via WhatsApp as well. You can just send me videos and I can review them for free at my free time, right? Because I have to be free to review the videos. Okay, but yeah, but it won't cost a cent, right? Just that I will be posting the review on my YouTube channel as content so that I could, provide content for viewers like you guys. So for general knowledge, as well as hoping to help any bowler out there, right, who's looking for free information and just general video analysis. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time.